Welcome back to the Charity Show Bites, your quick-fire charity sector fix between our main episodes. Short, sharp, and always full of surprises.
And today we're talking about surprises of a very different kind. The weirdest, most unexpected, and totally out of the blue donations charities have ever received.
That's right, we're not talking here about your usual spare change in a collection tin or £10 a month regular gift. We mean the kind of donations that made you stop and think, hang on a second, did someone really think we needed that?
Whether it's something bizarre, brilliant, or just completely baffling, we asked you to let us know on LinkedIn and our social channels, and we had some brilliant responses.
Absolutely. So, Piers, let's get on with it. Before we get into what our lovely listeners have told us they have received in the form of weird donations, Piers, what about you in terms of your experiences at the Brain Tumour Charity? Anything strange come your way?
Over the years, we've had one or two things. We had a Great British Bake Off finalist a few years back, and she auctioned off her winning cake, which was rather nice. She did want to send it in to the office, but I think the logistics of getting a live cake through the post wasn't feasible for obvious reasons. But so that was really generous. And then a few years back as well, I think we've mentioned this before on some of the episodes, we've had a large donation of crypto that we were trying to work out how we could process. But this was way back before crypto was a big thing. But obviously, the last couple of episodes ago, we've spoken about how cryptocurrencies and fundraising and donations, how that is going to become more and more relevant. But the two big ones that stand out for me are Tom Daly, who's one of our high-profile supporters. He supports the charity for many years now, since his dad died of a brain tumor. When he was at the Tokyo Olympics, it's when he started to do his knitting, and all the press picked up on the fact that Tom Daly's sitting there waiting to do his diving, but he's actually doing his knitting. And it became bigger and bigger as the Olympics went on. And during there, he was knitting this Olympic cardigan where he had the branding and the Olympic rings and all the beautiful logos all over it. And then at the end, on the back of all the surge of the social media support for him and his newfound pastime, his newfound way of zoning out in between dives, he asked for donations on the back of the Olympic cardigan that he had knitted all over Instagram. And we got so many donations and so much awareness from him and his Olympic cardigan. So that was amazing. And then the other strange one I've got, and I wish we had this actually in the office. It was a life-size sculpture of a cow. Not really a donation, but artist Andy Kumine painted it in bright red in the charity's Pantone, the charity's logo, the logo all over it. And he used it to raise lots of money for us. So somewhere out there is a life-size, the Brain Tumour Charity red cow. It's just superb. Nice. There's a picture somewhere. We'll put it on the notes, but that's the standout one for me. What about you, Tim?
Very moving donation, you could say.
Yeah, the puns flow. Don't milk it. But you've already done.
Oh yeah, very good. Well, I've got this story here that I had to read out because honestly, I can't quite believe it's true. It's not a donation as such. Well, it is a donation, but it's money that came the way of the firefighters charity in the most unexpected way, really. So this story came up again. It's one of these stories that happened a while ago. I think it's 2017, but it keeps resurfacing every now and again. And I saw it again at Valentine's Day. It's a Daily Mail story, and it's probably one that people, if they cast their mind backs, will remember. And it's essentially the worst Tinder date in history that did actually result in some money being donated to firefighters charity. So this is the story of the woman who got trapped in a window frame trying to retrieve her own poo after she threw it out when she blocked a toilet on a date with a guy from Tinder. Do you remember the story? Can you remember it?
I can't unsee it. Yeah, I can't unsee it.
I know. So it's anyway, this guy involved, the guy who was on the date with this poor nameless woman who hasn't been named, is a chap called Liam Smith from Bristol. He's now 32. I think he was 24 when it happened in 2017. And it's a bizarre chain of events, essentially, that this poor girl went back to his flats in Bristol after their dates and felt the need to go to the loo. So did, and ended up blocking said toilet. And then rather than sort of just leaving it all fessing up to the poor chap, she tried to dispose of it by throwing it out the window. But it got stuck between two panes of glass. And then, very, very long story short, she tried to retrieve it. She was a gymnast. She tried to retrieve it by leaning into this window and trying to get it, the old sort of classic, plastic bag in hand trick. And she did, I think the story says she did just successfully retrieve it and it got disposed of. But in the process, she got stuck in the window. So she got stuck in the window of this chap's bathroom, and the fire service were called to come and rescue her. So there's these pictures, if you Google the story and everything, there's these pictures of the fire crews trying to rescue this poor woman from this window after she got stuck. Anyway, the story went viral, and money was donated, and this chap did a sort of fundraiser as a result of it, and people, I think he raised a couple of £1,000, actually £2,540, there you go, through a GoFundMe page, and he split those donations between Firefighters Charity and Toilet Twinning, a charity that builds and maintains flushing toilets in the developing world. So I must say, I don't think I've ever heard of a donation coming to us in more surreal circumstances than that. So that for me is the standout. I don't know if that could be beaten. Really, that is pretty horrific, isn't it? Well, that poor woman. Thank goodness she's nameless, because that's a date I don't think anyone would ever live down. Shocking stuff.
That's the sort of story that if you wrote it down on paper, no one would ever believe you.
Okay, so that was a horrific story from horrific but funny story from my recollections of things that have come our way at Firefighters Charity. But we asked people on our social channels on LinkedIn for their own stories, their own recollections of things that have come their way. I had some really interesting comments from people, so thank you ever so much for sending these in. So Hannah Fox told us that she said, when I was at Crisis many years ago, David Gilmour from Pink Floyd sold his house for millions and gave it to Crisis, which resulted in a huge amount of PR. That is pretty astonishing, isn't it? That's, not every day a pop star of his magnitude donates his house to your charity. So that's pretty epic. And then I had another one for here from Joshua Dibble, who told us he once had someone who was attempting to sail between Australia to Madagascar. They failed multiple times and had to be towed back to Australia each time, which came at a cost to the Aussie taxpayer. And the media went to town on that. But thankfully, there was no impact as such on the UK charity involved. So yeah, that's a kind of a donation story gone wrong, really. But I've heard those kind of things happen before. What have you spotted, Piers? What did you from the list?
Well, we seem to be going slightly dark in this episode. We had some comments from Teresa Nightingale, who said that we had a rubber bodysuit donated to one of our shops that I posted on our socials with a cheeky message. It led to a formal complaint being made. She says that the comments feeds was hilarious, with everyone tagging their friends in. The single complaint tarnished the fun slightly, but no PR as yet with donations though. But the things you get donated to charity shops, that's at the top of the list, I think. Oh
yes, I'll come on to that slightly, because we had someone else mention that a little bit later on. Yeah, that is very, very true. Mary Trafford also told us that she said, when I worked at Polka Theatre in Wimbledon, we received the contents of Giles Brandreth's Teddy Bear Museum. We had to go down a cuddly toy archive rabbit hole, which was slightly off topic, really. So yeah, there we go. Giles Brandreth's Teddy collection. Could have been his cardigans, I suppose, couldn't it? Could have been anything.
Oh, I want to know how big this collection is. It sounds like it's quite a lot of it.
Well, he's a bit of an eccentric, isn't he, old Giles? So I imagine it's probably worth quite a bit, I imagine.
I like this last one, Tim, from Leon Greed, who got in touch with this show to say that once they had someone get arsey because we refused, he says, to take something like 400 cans of Spam to give to people in a food crisis. That's quite a lot of Spam.
That's a lot of Spam. I don't know if Spam would be top of my list in a food crisis of essentials.
It's not as versatile as you think, is it, really?
No. Do you know, I don't think I've ever had Spam. Have you ever had Spam?
Oh, Spam fritters when we were kids. Don't know whether they still do them anymore. I mean, it's a heart attack in a snack, but yeah, local chip shop, Spam fritter.
I might have to go and try it now.
I'd take my word for it. You don't need to do that.
And you mentioned charity shops earlier on. Kerry Lynn Doyle sent us a link to the Facebook group. I think it's called crap you find in charity shops, basically. And we'll put the link on the show notes. But it is, if you haven't joined it, and I did join it after Kerry sent us the link, it's hilarious. It's all the stuff that people find in their local charity shops, and there's some bizarre stuff. I think first of all, there's some bizarre stuff that people donate. Then it's bizarre actually that people running those shops actually choose to put them on display and put a price tag on some of them. So, and then do people actually buy some of this stuff? That's the other thing as well. So check it out. Go and check that group out. It's very, very funny. And I suppose that got me thinking a little bit about what our random trivia fact of the week could be. In 2023, did a little bit of research here. How much do you think a first edition of The Hobbit that was found among donations in a Cancer Research UK charity shop, how much do you think it sold for, Piers?
Oh, this is really interesting. First editions, they kind of, you see dollar signs, don't you, as soon as anyone says a first edition. So several thousand, maybe several 100,000. I don't know. I mean, that's a gem of a find, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. I think the one that everyone always wants is the first editions of Harry Potter, isn't it? You hear those stories occasionally of them turning up somewhere unexpected and raising thousands. But no, this one raised £10,000, just over £10,000. And Cancer Research UK said the first edition of the classic fantasy novel was found in the back room of its superstore in the city of Derby, I think it was. I can't quite remember. I haven't quite got the information to hand. But published in 1937, it is one of 1,500 copies from the original run that features black and white illustrations by the author J.R.R. Tolkien, which is amazing. And it's sold for £10,099 on eBay. So yeah, amazing. You don't know what you're going to find in a charity shop. Could be a bit of rubbish. Could be 10 grand's worth of a first edition. Amazing stuff. What about you, Piers? Have you ever bought anything or found anything bizarre in a charity shop?
I don't think so. No, I did go through a phase when I was a student of, doing my clothes shopping in charity shops. That's when my fashion rather was probably very questionable. But no trinkets, no treasure troves, just...
Yeah. I don't know. I love it. I do love a charity shop. I love looking through books in charity shops, but I'm not the kind of person who's able to spot a first edition. For me, it would just look like a tatty old book. So I'm not very good at knowing what's a gem and what's not. So who knows? I probably could have passed by a first edition of a Harry Potter without knowing it. Well, I think
we have to end that section with, don't judge a book by its cover, really.
Oh, Piers, that's a shocker.
And moving on.
Well, that's it for the second episode of the Charity Show Bites. It's been great hearing about the strangest, most unexpected donations out there, but we know there must be plenty more.
So you can keep the conversation going on our LinkedIn page or on our social channels. And coming up next time, we want you to tell us about the best and weirdest challenges that people have taken on for your charity.
That's right. What's the most bizarre or extreme way someone has raised money? What's the most incredible thing that your youngest or your oldest supporters have ever done? Have any challenges just left you completely baffled as to why on earth someone would take that on? And have you ever taken part in a charity challenge yourself?
So get thinking, send us your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our next bite-sized episode or our next full-length deep dive on the charity show.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.